once we went to St. Martin, and I posted, it's actually kind of like how I came out. I posted this photo. I was in the middle of the ocean, and I was like, I'm gonna leave everything right here on the line. I went upstairs to the room, posted that photo, and literally turned my phone off because out of the country, we didn't have good service, and it was what it was, so I didn't have to face anything. But the level of protection that he covered me with when I went through that transition to just truly just say, you know what, F it, let's do it. And here we are. And
what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley, and I'm so happy you came by. The Queerly Blax Show aims to normalize the everyday existence of Black, LGBTQIA+ individuals through an interview-style series with regular folks like you and me. So every week, a new guest shares their story and unique perspective on their existence as an LGBTQIA+ individual. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe, download, set your reminders to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley, here with some very, very special guests. We got Erik and Roderick in the building. Y'all go ahead and introduce yourselves to the people.
I'm Roderick.
Hello, I'm Erik with a K.
And together you are engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I love that.
From Davis forward, absolutely.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely amazing. I'm super, super excited about that. Definitely want to talk about it. Definitely want to dig into that. But before we go there, we got to go back to the beginning.
We
got to go to the beginning.
Where it all started. Yes.
When did you guys know that you liked the fellas?
So for me, it has been a journey. This relationship has actually kind of been like the rebirthing of Roderick, if you will. I've always been gay, have dated women, and was almost down the road, to marry another woman at one time. But I think that coupling with the pandemic and meeting Erik, it kind of helped me to see for a long time I had been kind of living in this hole where I not only did society in the church pigeonhole me, I pigeonholed myself. And being in this relationship with him, he kind of came in with this freedom and just kind of like so free spirit. And I was like, I want that. And so just kind of releasing some of the guards and letting my walls down, I have walked into this thing full fledged, and it's been the best decision, for me to be truthful to me. I've always known, but everybody else, and I was still trying to hide it, but walking in this freedom now, I'm coming out guns blazing. I am the happiest I've ever been, not only in my relationship, but in my mind, and growing, collectively with Erik.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, when I started liking the fellas, I knew at a very early age, I say probably at 10, I always known I was different, but I feel like at 10, my mind started to like think about things and really put more thought into it. So I knew around 10 that I was attracted to guys. And of course, being in a Black church, growing up in a Black church, being there every day of the week, it's just pushing a grain to you. That's not the lifestyle that I should have. So, of course, I calmed myself down, dated girls in the church, I think most of my girlfriends were in the church.
Exactly.
But I was pretty much a homebody. So I was at home, school, and church. So those are the places I've been. So at that age of probably around 17 or 18, I told myself I'm going to college. So now I can explore myself. So I was very kind of anxious about that. This is my first time leaving home at that age. And I say when I got to college,
Don't tell all
it was your mouth open, and it was a lot.
But those are the years, right?
Yeah, it was
Go and get it out your system.
It was fun. It was a great experience for me, and I learned a lot.
And I will say, even in that experience, playing both sides, I wasn't really being, and I want to really focus on the truth part of it, because so many times I think that people say, don't live a lie, but we don't really realize sometimes the mask that we really put on for the sake of people, our families, work, and all these different things. And so to have platforms that allow you to just be you is amazing, but that platform first has to start within. And I think that was even when I met Erik, I knew that, you know, he was going to be mine. We had this instant spark and this instant connection, but in some reality, I still kind of was guarded, right? But when I started really seeing him walk in his truth, it inspired me to want to pursue the knowledge to want to walk in mine. And that's what I attribute from our relationship, him bringing, you know, the love and all the other attributes, but he really pushed me to really be true to me. Yeah. And when I was true to me, everybody already was like, child, we already knew that. And that's what everybody always says. But the reality for you to get it is when the light bulb really comes on, you know?
Yeah. I'll definitely want to talk about that, just like the levels of freedom, right? Because you mentioned it earlier, just talking about, you know, freedom in like your mind, your relationship, and then just publicly, like all of those places. And for a lot of people, it comes in different orders. I think for some queer people, you are in a relationship that means so much to you that you're like, there's no way I'm gonna let my own stuff get in the way of this special, sacred, God-given thing, right? Like, I'm not gonna let that happen. And so you free yourself. And then some people are like, look, I don't even know who I am right now, so I can't even be open to relationship. And so it comes in different orders for people. And you know, so for you, what was that kind of order, and what did it look like?
You know, I grew up church boy, you know, singing in community choirs throughout the city and, you know, leading worship and stuff. All this stuff was fine. But the reality, when the pandemic came, I felt like my pastor had been kind of preaching, don't leave the pandemic the way you came. And I was like, that really stuck with me. And it didn't even come to full fruition until after the birth of our relationship. I was like, okay, now they want us to wear masks to protect, you know, our you know, from us getting COVID and all of that. But I was like, no, I'd be damned if I continue to wear two.
Yeah.
Y'all force me to wear one, and I'll do that to protect.
Say that. Yeah.
But I didn't. I said when I left when the pandemic came, I was like, I do not want to leave this pandemic being stuck, closeted, you know, secretly dating men and trying to keep a woman on my arm for the sake of, you know, people accepting me. But the real acceptance started with me. And after I realized that this big God in the sky who created heaven and earth is going for people to force me to think I'm going to be hated and shunned and to hell and all that. I was like, I can't rock with it, because that's not the God I serve, right? Like this, I just could not believe that he was going to allow his son, you know what I'm saying, to truly be shunned off. I was like, no. So it started with me spiritually accepting the fact that God knew me. He said, I formed you in your mother's womb. So you knew what I was going to do. And I think sometimes people in the church, we listen to what the preacher says, but we don't go back and study for ourselves. So when I started to get in the word, and I was like, okay, you did all of these things and I'm piecing it together. I was like, okay, God, me and you have, you know, we have this relationship, but my relationship was with you before I even knew I wanted to be in this. Like before I even accepted it in myself, you accepted me. And so spiritually was the awakening for me. And then did you want me to keep going into the levels for me?
Yeah, you know, as much as you want to share.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And after I think I grasped the spiritual side, I've always loved Roderick. I have never really had, you know, some issues in childhood and things like that, but I've always loved me. But meeting this guy and the way that the strength of his love and the compassion behind some of the hard conversations that we would have that kind of birthed this new mental mindset. You know, love is free, love is genuine, love is pure, love is kind. And to be in a relationship with somebody that shares those commonalities, 1, 2, and we serve obviously the same God, and we transitioned at different times, but we arrived at the love part together. And that for me changed my mental, because it just allowed me to just operate truly in a freedom space, not a head space of trying to conform. Because sometimes we put the hat on of conforming to what people think versus just really being free within you to be free to speak how you want to speak, say what you want to say, do the things that make you you, but do it with somebody, I mean, obviously that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Absolutely.
That has been a really beautiful eye-opening journey for me. The pandemic, I truly believe if the pandemic hadn't come, I don't know sometimes like where I would be mentally, but I am so grateful that it happened, you know, for me to at least arrive in this space, for me to be in this freedom space.
I think that's true of a lot of people. I think a lot of people would, because what the pandemic made us all do, unless you were an essential worker, of course, was sit down with yourself. And that's something that most people never do in their entire life. It's just take some time and just really you sit there with yourself, you know, all those, I tell my sisters all the time, I'm like, look, you know, you can do whatever you want to do in this life. When you go to sleep at night and you close your eyes and you're alone, you know what you did.
Know what you did.
You know what you did. And I think all of us having to sit and take that space for ourselves, you come out on the other side of the truth with the truth. You know, even we looking around right now at all these crazy people that are doing weird stuff and just causing all kind of hell. You know, really, you know, they've had so much time just to sit around and do things that were really truly already there, but now they got the time and space to really, you know, develop and build guns and do all kind of crazy stuff on the bad side. And on the good side, you have a lot of people who found love, found themselves, found freedom, and not, you know, conforming to what the world wants you to do and what the world wants you to be. Sit and explore yourself, figure out what makes you happy. What do I like? What do I want to do? What do I want to add to this world? And when you don't know if the next day is what the next day is going to look like, you start saying, well, shit, do I want it to look like this? Like, is this really happiness for me? Like, is this really it? If I don't ever get another day that is perfect, is this really what I want it to be, you know? And so I definitely understand that, you know, fully. And Erik, I definitely want you to talk about, you know, when you went from your promiscuous days in college to this very much engaged, off the market young fella that we see today.
So I feel like for me, like my story, like when I met Rod, so first we met through Instagram. So I posted a picture. He liked it.
Here we go.
He liked
the DMs.
Right. So, child, I like the little photo and keep coming.
The little photo.
I like one photo.
Wow.
Now, I hope he tells you how he went in like 30 more of mine.
I ain't mad at it.
Oh my God.
You just gave him look, you know, all it takes is a little energy. That's all you need.
Right,
a little energy.
Right. There's a little
gave him the go ahead. Just give me that little sauce and I'm in there. That's all I need.
So I liked his picture. And so he inboxed me and said, like, no, I like a lot of his pictures. I did. I would say about like 5, not 30.
But not only did he like the photos, he went back to, you know, when somebody really like scoping out your page,
all the way back.
You go like photos from 5 and 6 years ago. Not anything new. You just scroll down to some photos. And so after that,
I think
gotta go see them pre-glow up pictures. You gotta go see them. What he looked like, you know what I'm saying, before the glow up.
I think in hindsight, I wanted him to kind of notice me because he was intriguing. I went to his profile, like, okay, he seems like a great guy, you know, with good morals, but it's kind of hard to tell from pictures, but in my mind, that's what I felt. So after he hit me up and said, thanks for the love, the conversation started, and it was pretty much, that was it, you know. First, I was living in Memphis at the time, and he was living in Nashville. So, I mean, I traveled quite often.
Every other weekend, every other day, every other minute. Memphis to Nashville is like 2.5 hours. He was in Nashville more than I was, okay, and I lived there. But it really took off. I mean, literally it did, but it was something about you know how you read people, you have two lenses you see them through. You see them from what you see and what they give you. What he gave me didn't match what I saw. And at first I was like, okay, this is interesting, because normally you can be a good judge of character, but you see stuff that come out in photos. He was the complete opposite. It was like I was literally talking to, from the very beginning, my best friend. we hit it off, and the depth of conversation so fast, the length of time, child, that we spent on the phone, we would talk, 4 and 5 hours a night. I'm like, I ain't did this shit since high school. So what is happening?
Okay, so question. So what did you think I was just looking at my photos? What kind of person you thought I was?
Thirst trapping.
Okay, so not only, so he finally
Thirst
told,
trap.
so I didn't think he was thirst trapping, but there were some things that you see people, you hear things, and so I knew of it. Let's just be clear, I knew of him in the scene or whatever.
Yeah.
But none of the stuff, no tea was bad, all the tea was good, but I wanted to experience him outside of what I saw on social media. Because sometimes we go back to talking about the mask. For me, a lot of my pictures, you could never tell what was going on in my head because I'm in the moment of the photo. But after the flash, you could see the despair, you could see the sadness, and you could see some of those things. And so with him, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like when I slid into his DMs and I was like, thanks for the love or whatever, we exchanged, some information and we talked. But the way that he captivated me with the intellect and the way that he cared for me early on, I'm like, you ain't don't come over here with all of that. Don't do, I thought it was gonna be, a little situation and we was gonna go about our way. But when he put in so much work,
Eric, he thought you was just a pretty face. He was like,
Nah,
this
I
little
thought that was
cutie,
all he
little
was.
cutie, you know what I mean?
Pretty face,
Just little
pretty
cute
body,
little
everything.
thing. Yeah. He didn't know you had all that, you know what I'm saying?
Didn't know he had all that.
But I feel like, for me, I like when I put photos on Instagram, I just try to portray, who I am, I mean, the looks and the face, I mean, I can't help that I look so good, but
Hey.
I can't help it. But I mean, I just try to give off that good positive energy, and I felt that translated with Rod.
And it definitely does. Absolutely.
So I felt the love, and like as we was like getting along, and like mind you, we moved pretty fast, So I know him for how long?
Before we started dating?
Yeah.
I mean, just the scene, we've known about each other with family that he's worked with in his profession. We've known about each other and have seen each other in passing probably years. But to really be 1-on-1, it's been about 2.5 years. We're about to approach 3 years in June. Awesome. And it just seems like the time, even from him moving up, to be with me, and just the selflessness early on. I at first, I was kind of like, what are we doing? But after he had introduced me to this level of freedom, I was like, well, come on, we can be free together. And it's truly been history ever since. And it's been a roller coaster of a lot of growth, which has been turbulent, but we have literally weathered the storms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in that risk of picking up my life and moving to where he was, I really trusted him with my heart, because that's a big move, to be with somebody, and I really felt in my spirit that I was super comfortable around him, and I trust him with everything. So it was a transition, it was a little rough, at times, but for sure, you definitely got through that.
So underneath of what he's saying is, what got him hooked. I hooked him real quick and got him on up there tonight, huh?
Snatched him on up.
Snatched him on up there, got him on up there with me, and it's been ever since.
I love that. Talk about what made you guys, because the queer dating scene, I'm sure straight people deal with it too, but it's a challenging one, right? Especially for our brothers. And just with all the stigma and the people and the down low and I don't want to be out and not, all the things. Talk about what made you guys feel comfortable with each other, right? Like, what were some of the things that made you guys feel like, okay, I can trust that this person has my best interest. This person is somebody I feel like is serious and not just giving me lip service. This is someone that I feel like, yes, if this person proposes to me, I'm going to say, I'm going to move forward with my life. Eric, I'm going to move up to where this person is, because you just hear so many different horror stories about, dating and just all the things. So what were some of those things for you guys?
For me, I would have to say that, like I said a few minutes ago, the introduction to a new mindset. I've been in relationships and nobody has ever forced or not. When I say forced, pushed me or propelled me to want to be free. I felt like everybody that I dated was keeping me where they were. So as long as you were stuck, I'm stuck. Long as you here, I'm here. With Erik, Erik showed me a different side to, as I have stated numerous times, the level of freedom that I truly can have and that I possess, and most importantly, that I deserve.
Yeah.
Once we went to St. Martin, and I posted, it's actually kind of like how I came out. I posted this photo. I was in the middle of the ocean. And I was like, I'm gonna leave everything right here on the line. I went upstairs to the room, posted that photo, and literally turned my phone off because out of the country, we didn't have good service, and it was what it was. So I didn't have to face anything, but the level of protection that he covered me with when I went through that transition to just truly just say, you know what, F it, let's do it. And here we are. And I think that level of protection is something that I didn't get from the dating sites. I didn't get it from some of the people that I've known my life, that I've tried to allow into my heart. That's still the deal for me to say, if this man was to ask me, and let me just stop and say this for just a second. So when he asked me to marry him, I was planning the engagement on my side. I'm talking about the venues and everything. And so once I got to that level of freedom, it was like, okay, this is the person I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. He's my soulmate. He is the one that is truly for me. And that's how it sealed the deal for me.
So for me, I like to be in long-term relationships. So a lot of my relationships have been long-term. I think I get that from having a two-parent household.
Yeah.
Together, I always wanted that.
That stability, just like not a whole bunch of people running in and out your space. And
exactly, you know, I like all of that. So in saying that, I felt that by me being in long-term relationships, I'm always looking for my forever, you know. I'm always in search for that, you know, because I feel that someone for everybody. And, you know, I had past relationships that wasn't too great, whatever, I had to get out of those, which was unfortunate, you know. But I'm grateful that I did found Rod. I mean, for me, Rod brings me balance, because I'm kind of like very silly, goofy, like super happy in Rainbow Land, whatever. And Rod is kind of like straight lined, and he's like analytical thinker, whatever, which I definitely, because I'm all over the place, you know. And so I'm not super stable like in like how I do things at work, or, you know, just not like detailed like that. So Rod brings me a lot of balance. So that what for me is one of the greatest things and qualities that he has that I love about him. You know, he doesn't take my BS, you know, he like, you know, not at all. Like, you don't take it at all. And I feel like I needed that, you know. Of course, you know, early on, you feel like, oh my God, you know, just kind of get like frustrated, like, oh my God, he's telling me this over and over again. I don't want to hear it, blah, blah, blah. And the weird thing is I started developing his traits and characteristics. It's kind of being embedded in me to do those things. And it has helped me like in my day-to-day life and work and things like this. So I definitely appreciate him for that. And he's helping me grow. Like, he's always pushing me to be great. And no one ever pushed me like that. For in my past relationships, we kind of just stayed like stagnant and like no growth. You know, I was like, I want to do better. I'm getting older. Like, I want more life than like being fresh as hell and like hanging out, you know what I'm saying? I need something more than it, you know? Yeah. And Rod brings that like home feeling for me. Yeah. Which I'm very like grateful for.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. No, I totally get that. And I think it's super mature, and it's something that I think people develop over time, of like understanding what you need versus what you want. Right. Because me and my wife are the same. Like we're opposites in a whole lot of things. Like I'm friends with everybody. Everybody's cool until they're not with me. Like I don't, you know, my wife is like, I don't know you. Like, who is you, and where did you come from? Like, I'm like a credit card. Like, I'll let you run up the limit. She's a debit card. If ain't nothing in, you ain't getting nothing out.
I love it. I love it.
So we always, you know, joke about that. But the balance is that, you know, she can kind of, cause she takes that extra second, she be like, yeah, babe, nah, they not the business. And I'd be like, nah, babe, like everybody, you know, like just give them a chance. She's like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. Right. Yeah. And appreciating that she's just looking out for me, right? Like she's like, you know, you're all cool. You go into everything like, oh, what's up? Let's, you know, and people take advantage of you, you know, or people don't have your best interests at heart. Like some people that you can be like that with, but not everybody, right? And so just understanding that, like those opposite things, like it would be easy to be like, oh yeah, you know, I want to be with somebody that's like just like me, like we all gonna go out and it's all whatever, but then something happens and nobody has nobody's back because we're looking at it the same way, right? So just understanding and appreciating those balances is super good.
Probably,
Talk about,
I like to say that as perspective, right?
yeah,
It changed my perspective, you know.
definitely. Talk about workplace, right? So like, how does your sexuality show up at work?
So for me, it has always been, I've always been quiet. Nobody has ever really known much about my personal life. After this season of kind of going through some of the stones being thrown in the church and all of these things, I started looking at DEI very heavily. And so at the hospital where I work, it's a little different for me, where they kind of told me that they kind of went and researched me and they saw my social media and saw my presence and things like that. But because it is such a high tolerance within in my job, it's fine. People don't care. Now, am I doing all of the things and going to all of the places? No. But if Erik comes up, that they know who he is. If they see us out, they know who he is. I post a picture on TikTok, social media, or whatever, and people see. But for me, I have no problems because I don't care. I feel like I'm better at work because I'm finally operating in a place of freedom.
I think for me in the workplace, so here's the thing. So in the workplace, of course, I'm not yelling, I'm gay, whatever, but if someone asks me, I will tell them. And this is something I'm not ashamed of. People come to me all the time and like, will like think about it. They don't know, whatever. I was like, just ask me, like, and throughout the workplace, like I've been respected as a homosexual man, and like it's been love. Like I haven't, for me, I haven't received that much hate. I don't know, because like certain personalities or whatever, but I haven't received much hate from people letting them know that I'm gay, because I work in the hospital as well, and of course there's a lot of men there, and everybody knows who I am. You know, everybody knows that I'm a gay man, and everybody treats me fairly, so I don't really feel any negativity coming my way from the workplace, and everybody's respectful of it and like asks how he's doing, how Rod doing. I think it's really a blessing that I have the type of work and family that I have to accept my sexuality and accept him like he's family. So I love this so much. I love my workplace people, and I just really appreciate them for accepting me for who I am, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. Now let's talk about this engagement. Walk me through it. Walk me through it, Erik. What happened?
So after we left St. Martin, a month later, I was like, he said something. He said in St. Martin, he was like at the door, he was like, if I could marry you today, I would. I was like, woo. I said, whoa. Maybe like a ton of bricks. I mean, still get butterflies thinking about it. But after that, I wanted to propose to him. I was like, I'm gonna do this, because no shade, but you're stubborn. He's very stubborn. So I was like, I want to propose to him. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So we was living in Virginia at the time. And I wanted to do it around his birthday. And so his birthday was coming up. I was like, I'm gonna do this from Virginia. So I had to call his friends, call my family, try to get things together. And at one point, where I was like, I don't want to go to Memphis that weekend. I was like, you have to. I can't say why, but I was like, he was like, I want to go. I'm saying, please.
Literally.
I was like, please come to Memphis, because it's gonna be great, whatever. And so he decided to come. I was like, oh my God, yes. And so we drove down, long drive from Virginia to Memphis, and the ride was good. And so we got to Memphis, and I was trying to plan things, and I planned to go out to eat with him and my family. I said, we're gonna meet up at this restaurant, whatever. He was like, cool, whatever. So we was heading, like going to the restaurant. I said, I'm gonna stop by his friend's house to pick her up to go to dinner with us. He was like, why are we picking up somebody to go to dinner with us? He was so confused. I was like, just trust me, whatever. And so we were walking towards her building to go in because we were having the engagement in her like condo game room lobby area. And so
like a little clubhouse situation.
Yeah. And the weird thing is his dad's truck was parked outside. He was like
right across from my car. I was like, that's my dad's car, bro. He was like, no, it's not. I was like, brother, it is my dad. And the whole time because I plan, and that's something that I'm very fine-tuned what we're doing. So I'm like, I was so confused. We get here and I see things. And I'm like, what are we doing? He kept touching me. He kept fixing my shirt, fixing my suit jacket and everything. I'm like, what are you doing? And eventually everything kind of unfolded just the way it was.
Yeah, so after I was fixing his clothes because my people was outside at the door. So if he turned straight, they would have saw him. I was like, lift your hair. I was doing all this stuff. I would have been extra.
Real extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he walked in and like we had like photographer and videographer. So, but he didn't know who was getting engaged. He thought it was like a birthday thing. And so he was like hanging like, oh wow, whatever. And I told him like during the middle of everything to come up front, and I said my speech, and this one I got down on one knee and
lost it.
Asked him to marry me. I mean, it was a crazy experience, but it was all so worth it.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was all so worth it.
And the crazy part is me and his dad have the same birthday. So I'm thinking that we were going out, to celebrate his dad and mine. Child got in there and literally, even when he was doing it, I was so shocked because me and his brother were planning. Well, first off, his brother had stopped communicating with me when we got home. I was like, your brother's not responding to no message. You're supposed to go look at the venue. In my head, I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? And lo and behold, he was planning it and did it before I could even ask him to marry me.
You had to pull your own brother in. You was like, hey, bro, I need your help.
Exactly.
So you had to stop dealing with him to put you to the side real quick. Like, hold on.
Right.
Exactly.
I got to go help my bro.
Real cool.
Awesome.
Real
Yeah.
cool.
And that the family, all love, just, is there a date for the wedding?
It's October 9th.
Oh, nice. Okay. Little time.
Yeah, but we got a few months. We are in the thick of planning and about to do a photo shoot for the engagement and all of that stuff. So it's been, we were trying to get over the holidays before we got into the real thick of the planning. So now the real thick has started.
Yeah. Love that, man. Love that. Super big congratulations to y'all for that, for sure. Before we get out of here, I want to play a quick game with y'all.
Let's go.
Game of this or that. Y'all ready?
All right.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Beard or no beard?
Beard.
Both.
Beard.
Laundry or cooking?
Laundry.
Cooking.
Good.
Yep.
Day at the spa or watching sports all day?
Day at the
Spa.
spa.
No sports.
Short hair or long hair?
Long.
Both of y'all got long hair too.
Long hair, don't care.
Long hair, don't care. Sports car or big truck?
Sports car.
Erik drives a sports car and I drive a truck. So
No, perfect.
Yes, you be. Yep.
A big wedding or small ceremony?
Big wedding.
It's big.
It's big. Which I got 200 guests.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's a big wedding.
Stay up late or sleep in?
Sleep up late.
Sleep in.
Late night.
He would stay up all night. I'd be the one knocked out.
I'll be gone. I'll be
Exactly.
in the bed.
Exactly.
In the bed. Iron or redry it?
Redry it. Redry it. Let that steam hit it.
Redry it.
Man.
Jesus. Pay or have him pay? In the past life.
Have him pay.
Yeah.
Have him pay.
Past life would be have him pay.
Have him
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah.
Now, of course, y'all both pay.
Absolutely.
Top or bottom?
Versatile.
Top or bottom. You got to pick one.
We have to pick one.
You can pick verse. That's fine.
Okay. I'm verse.
We're both definitely versatile. I mean, if I had to pick,
Why are you looking at me like that?
I mean, if we had to pick, it would always be versatile because it's different than just the act. It's the emotion behind it, all of the passion that we have behind it. It has to be versatile.
For me, I see it all as whatever you top or bottom. I see it all as one thing. For me, it's all one thing, regardless of what the details are in the bedroom.
Mhm.
All one thing for me. So whatever makes me and him happy, I mean, that's what it's gonna be, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what it's gonna be.
And there you have it, folks. So where can the people find you?
You can find me on social media. My Instagram is at digsboy1911 because I'm a Kappa. And my Facebook is Roderick Johnson.
All right, my Instagram is Erik with a K, Dwayne81. And my Facebook is Erik with a K, Davis. You can find me on there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank y'all so much for coming through. Definitely appreciate y'all coming on, sharing your story, giving people some vibes, giving them some talk. Yeah. And y'all already know, man, it's another episode of the Queerly Blax Show. I'm your host, Ashley. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Peace out.